Hello YouTube and YouTubettes. Welcome to an album review. I have a very special formula that I use to make grades, so you will hear fractions and like a 5.73 or whatever. And so I won't give that away, but in this video I'm going to review the Beach Boys album Surfin' Safari. This came out on October 1st, 1962. Original members were Brian Wilson, Dennis Wilson, Carl Wilson, all brothers, cousin Mike Love, and neighborhood friend David Marks. Al Jardine did record with them initially, but left to dentist school before they were signed by Capitol. Now, originally they were with Candix, which was a small record label in 1961, and that their father, the Wilsons' father Murray, knew. And some of those tracks, I'm not sure if they redid like Surfin' or not, but originally Surfin' was recorded at Candix, I believe, and produced by Hype Morgan. And then Capitol signed the Beach Boys on July 16th, 1962. And the manager was the Beach Boys' father, Murray Wilson. And this album, Surfin' Safari, was produced by, or credited to Nick Vinay, although I've heard that he wasn't very involved in the production. Brian and maybe even Murray were very involved in the producing of the songs. The engineer was, I'm not sure if it's Nick Vinay or Chuck Britz, or if Chuck Britz came later. First of all, I'd like to talk about the album cover. The photographer was Ken Veeder, taken on the beach at Paradise Cove. This is a happy cover, and it shows excitement. It shows guys sitting in a yellow pickup facing the Pacific Ocean with a surfboard held on top by Brian and Mike. And I think this represents the music very well. It shows youth, it shows energy, and it really matches the music that's within it. And I give the album cover an 8 out of 10. Now on to the songs. We start with Surfin' Safari.
Let's go surfing now, everybody's learning how. Come on a safari with
Surfin' Safari was written by Brian Wilson and Mike Love. I give this song a 6.4. The strongest parts of it is the catchiness and the I guess you could say lyrical accessibility. It's not a very artsy song by any means, but a very solid 6.4 for Surfin' Safari. Next, I've got County Fair.
this time each year in our hometown.
County Fair was written by Brian Wilson and Gary Usher. I give this song a 4.8. It is still somewhat catchy. I think the lyrics are not as good as the Surfin' Safari lyrics in terms of hooky lyrics or whatever. But it's still a fun little song, but I think it's below average. I give it a 4.8. Next, I've got 10 Little Indians.
10 little Indians.
This is just credited to Traditional. And one thing I do is I do deduct points for cover songs. So this one has a pretty low grade of 4.4, though I do really enjoy this version of it very much. It's a fun song in the style of the Beach Boys. So a 4.4 for 10 Little Indians. Next is Chug-a-Lug.
Here a mug, there a mug, everybody chug a lug.
Chug-a-Lug was written by Brian Wilson, Mike Love, and Gary Usher. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. I give it a 6.6. I think it is very catchy and a little bit more creative than some of the other songs. In terms of, well, I don't know. It's a very cool song, I think, and I give it a 6.6. Next, I got "Little Girl, My Miss America." This song was written by Herb Alpert and Vincent Catalano. This is a very beautiful song. It is a cover, so the grade's going to seem lower because of that. I give it a 5.2 overall. But I do think that if this was, as an original song, this would have been much higher than that. But I do think this is a very beautiful song. It's sung by Dennis Wilson, so it's his first lead. And he does a wonderful job singing the lead of this. Next, the end of side A is the song 409. 409, written by Brian Wilson, Mike Love, and Gary Usher. This is a very catchy song, once again, very simple, and I give it a 6.0. Flip the record over, and we start with the very first song the Beach Boys recorded, Surfin.
Surfing is the only life, the only way for me.
Surfin is written by Brian Wilson and Mike Love. And this is not a great song, in my opinion, although it is fun to listen to because it is the first song they ever recorded together. Now, this version on the Surfin' Safari album, I think there's earlier versions than this, so it's a little bit more polished than their first recording, ever. So, but I give this a 4.2. Next, we got Heads You Win, Tails I Lose. This song was written by Brian Wilson and Gary Usher. I really love this song. It really moves. I think it's lyrically a little more interesting than most of the songs on this album. I give this song a 6.4. Next is Summertime Blues. This is a cover song written by Eddie Cochran and Jerry Capehart. This is a fun little song, although it is a cover, so the grade is not as high as the song might suggest. I do, I prefer originals, but anyway, very catchy song. Obviously, the original is better, but it's fun to hear the Beach Boys do it. This is actually sung by Carl and David Marks, share the lead, and I give this a 5.2. Next is Cuckoo Clock. This song was written by Brian Wilson, and I think this is his only lead vocal on the album. I have failed to mention most of the leads have been Mike Love, but this one's Brian Wilson singing lead. One of my favorite songs on the album. This one's consistently good, somewhat catchy, but also a little bit more creative than most of the songs on this album, lyrically and musically. And I give this song a 6.4. Next is Moondog. Moondog is written by Derry Weaver. This is one of those surf instrumentals, and it's very, I love this song. It's almost got like the pre-psychedelic. I really, really believe that surf music developed into psychedelic rock in many regards. And this is kind of that. Once again, because I don't go above a 7 in cover songs, this does extremely well. I gave it a 6.3. And finally is a song called The Shift. The Shift was written by Brian Wilson and Mike Love. I think The Shift was some kind of clothing item for women or something, and so they're just kind of fascinated by women's clothing. So it's kind of an interesting idea. Very catchy song, and I do like this song. I give it a 6.2. Now, overall, the songs, the album flow. This is, people don't think of this as a concept album, but the songs are so similar, musically throughout, that and it's all about teen fun, and so the album Flow I give a 10. And overall, this album, my final grade for this album is a 6.15. You have to leave room, if 10 being the highest, you have to leave room for higher grades. And this is their first album. I think a 6 or a 7 is a solid album. So 6.15 is pretty good. And my final thoughts is that this was a solid beginning to their career. Not a lot of variety in musical styles yet. Productions and rhythms are similar on every song, but a very garage rock album. So I'll say this album rocks. Thank you and have a wonderful day.